Okay, so
We're
go
live.
live. You're on, Jen.
All right. Today is June 17th, 2021, and this is our weekly design meeting. Apologies in advance if there's any strange noises. There's road construction happening outside my window, and they just started the road roller, so hopefully that's not bothering you guys too much. Anyway, before we get started on design issues, I'd like to have us go around and introduce ourselves. So if you want to share what your name is, where you're from, and if there's anything exciting going on you want to share with the backdrop community, that is also welcome. I will start. I am Jen Lampton. I'm joining us from Oakland, California. And I'm very excited about all of the work I did on the Backdrop Events website this morning, which I might talk about in the next meeting. How about Tim?
Okay, my name is Tim Erickson, St. Paul Tim. I'm in Deerwood, Minnesota. I am back outside for our meetings. Tell me if this is too distracting. Last summer, I was not, as a practice, I just worked at my laptop. It was really easy to sit outside. Over the winter, I tethered myself to 2 external monitors, and now it's a little harder to just move outside, but I decided today was a perfect day for it. So anyways, that's it. Robert?
I'm Robert Lang, bug folder on the internet. I'm in Altadena, California. Lately, I've been spending a lot of time on documentation, and I'll probably continue to do that. That's Greg.
Hi, my name is Greg. I'm usually in Australia, now in Greece. Yeah, just checking in to see what design tasks we have and how I can help. I haven't worked on any design issues recently, so eager to do that again. Yep.
Okay, Jen.
Great.
So who's in charge?
I'm in charge,
Okay.
I guess. So our normal weekly agenda has a section for theme initiative update. And though the theme initiative is officially wrapped, we still have a handful of issues that might be useful to talk about, but maybe we should just move them into some like other category, just maybe like product improvement or something like that. One of them is the ability to promote specific projects, and this applies for recommended modules as well as themes, and that's something that's ongoing. I think we have a bunch of changes to project module for package signing going in soon, so it will be nice if we could combine and deploy with that with something that might help this. I don't know if that's going to help motivate people, myself, to try and get some work done on that anytime soon, but it is something I'm thinking about. And then we also have a style guide that we thought we could use to help determine whether a theme could become recommended or not. So if your theme was able to style all the elements in the style guide nicely, you get somebody to say, yeah, it looks great, and then we can recommend that module or theme, and it'll show up on the themes page. So there is a list of items there that the style guide should contain in order to make sure that that theme meets all of the requirements that we want for a recommended module. And I don't know, like we could go way overboard on that and maybe not require all of them because the style guide could contain anything. But there's a good sort of starting point there. So if anyone wants to work on the style guide, that's a contrib module and a little easier to fuss around with than core itself. And then we have this issue. I think I'm going to remove this from the agenda after today, but that was how do we make it easier for people to try a theme? And right now, the only way you can do that is to actually install it on a website. If you don't want to install it on your own website, you can install it on a demo website, but most of our demo sandboxes have no content. So that doesn't necessarily give you a feeling for what that theme would look like. We talked about having an example site full of content that people could just go flip themes around on. And I think Luke made a good start on that, where there's a bunch of themes and you can use theme switcher. That write-up should be in his blog post on that. But
I had an idea on that. I haven't touched simplytestme.org or simplytest.me in a while, and I visited it this week, and I remembered that you could generate links that could spin the site automatically with the modules or themes that you pointed, or the patches. If we can get our demo sites to do that with themes, it would be a great idea to have a try this before you install it link on themes that would actually spin the demo site, install the theme, and set it as, I don't know, the default or whatever. That's another idea. But that belongs in the core queue. I'll probably write something, create a new issue for it.
Or maybe not the core queue, because I don't think it'll require any changes to core.
I was thinking that it could go in the, see how we have the project browser, and then the project browser, you can click on the module or theme names, and then there's a pop-up that has information. Oh yeah, you're right. That information is actually being pulled from b.org. So it should go there and the link should be there. Yeah. You're right, in b.org.
Yeah, and I think infrastructure-wise, like that could be part of Tugboat. Like maybe Tugboat has already has a command that could do something like that, because it doesn't Tugboat run the Drupal solution now too. I don't know how tightly they're integrated, but it seems like we're on Tugboat, they're on Tugboat, they have that feature. Should be pretty easy to set up for us. And so it could just be part of the Tugboat module or a sub module or something like that that we could get that going.
I think that they're moving to version 2 of whatever that is, and they're having issues with the current one, and I can confirm that because I used it last week, and it's been my experience the past 1.5 years. But now they're moving to version 2, which uses Composer, which we don't, I think. So yeah, might be a little bit different.
We haven't been having problems with it. They're probably having problems with it because it doesn't use Composer, and they need that now.
Or it could be, yes.
Yeah.
So can I interject that Luke and I had slightly different visions about what this sort of demo site would be. I think his was a little bit more ambitious than mine. But I just posted in Zulip, the theme switcher, the site I made, which is a functional theme tester site. And I don't know if there's a way we could better promote or use that, or, people think, if other people think it's useful. To me, it's already useful. I had ideas about how to make it better. I haven't had time to work on them, but there is, in the footer, you can switch between themes. I have some sample content. The content is pretty lame.
It's good. It's okay.
But like, I'd like to know, like, what more would need to happen for this to be useful. Part of it was figuring out like what elements to include that are, this is a little bit like the testing it, like, one of the things I was doing was creating some different pages to highlight different sort of use cases.
So
Go ahead.
Tim, correct me if I'm wrong, but this had a sidebar where you could switch themes and you expose that to site visitors, but they cannot actually log in and do things with the content, right?
Right. Well, sure. Right now it's not, yes, it's not set up that you can actually change the content. It's you can try it out with a fixed set of content. So an anonymous user right now can go to the footer and can change the theme. And they can browse around the site, the current site, but they can't edit it. That would be figuring out how to do that sort of safely, and is another issue.
So
a tugboat version is better. I'm not disputing that. I'm just not sure that anybody has the time to implement it, and this is like already working, right?
Yeah, I think that phase 1 would be to link to that site as is now from somewhere in b.org, maybe the themes page. And phase 2 could be moving it into a backdropcms.org domain.
Yeah. And
then phase 3 could be trying to automate it and move it to Tugboat. But and this is where, see how we mentioned in the previous weeks that we are unblocked sort of for the recipes. If we can get even like a what do you call it, demo content module, which actually theme demo content module, which actually installs all that all the content that you've created, then it would help with the Tugboat implementation. But yeah, this is a good start, and as is, like, it's better than what we have now, which is nothing.
Yeah, I'm not sure how widely I would make it public right now, but I think it's at least useful to some people, and I'd be happy to know, like, what would it take to make it more useful. besides going all the way. I mean, like doing the full tugboat thing would be best. And maybe we just want to, focus on that. Jen, what do you think? Is this something that you think we can make use of, or should we be holding out for the?
I'd be a little concerned. I mean, I think it is useful. It shows you right now that most of these themes aren't good enough to be featured themes.
Right.
But that would be my concern for putting it like directly on backdropcms.org, is that it's not a good sales tool yet. But
No,
I
it's
think
not.
that it is a very good tool for like helping me decide which one of these themes I would want to use. So like, how close is it to my design intent? Like, how much work do I have to do? Which is probably why, Tim, you're finding it useful. So I think that there might be like maybe we put it in the forum where people
Sure.
who are chatting about it. You could even have a special topic for it if you wanted. And then that way, if people have themes they want to see, you have sort of a place you could talk about it. I don't know how many themes you're planning on putting on there. If someone asked for one, if you'd add one or not. But yeah, I think that way it's sort of as a tool that people can get to, but in kind of an unofficial sense.
Right.
And then once we have outlined our criteria for what a featured theme is, we can go and create pull requests or at least issues against these themes and be like, hey, if you can solve this one thing that I saw on Tim's site, and we can make you a featured theme, and then you'd become exactly the same thing on like an official site. And if we can get like 10 of those ready, we could even leave your site as the official site and just have them all be there. And then you can have like, oh, maybe you log in to see the unofficial themes or something like that.
I think that this was one of the subtasks of the initiative, to figure out a list of what do they call them? Not recommended, but the list of themes, approved themes, or something like that. Which then, like, all right, we'll get like 20 of them, say, here, but in the future this will need to be done again. So this is overhead, and this is where the tugboat demos would become helpful, because we wouldn't have to manage that curated, I think it was, list of themes. Of course, there's danger that people will try a theme that is basically, sorry, crap, but they can try another one. It's still going to be as easy, as spinning a tugboat demo. Right. But I think that we should move this to, how are you managing this currently? Do you have a repo for it in GitHub team, or?
Right now, I have a repo, but it's a private. This is on my Simplo site. So to be clear, I would be happy to turn this site, if it were helpful, over to backdrop.org. But I understand what Jen was saying. I think the best solution might be for now. I like the idea of just making a forum post, like with this in the subject line. And then people can give feedback, they can comment on it, we can get a discussion going about it. It can be a private thing, right? It's informal, it's something I'm just posting. And if at any point, people feel like it's something that, the project could use in a more official way, I'm happy with that. But I think Jen's right, it's not really quite at that stage where we probably would want to make it a backdrop thing. Does that make sense?
I really like how you have the FAQ section, which says which modules have been used to build this. My only comment is that in order, like, we call it the theme display or whatever we want to call it, but you don't get actually to switch themes unless you click on one of the nodes that are in the homepage. So basically, if you are either in home, FAQ, contact us, you're trapped without a theme selector block.
I'm on the FAQ page and I can switch. It's in the footer.
Oh, is that? Oh, right. I was used at the sidebar. So yeah, sorry, my bad. Okay, cool. Yeah, ignore
there's no doubt that it needs improvement. But what I'm here, so far this has been up for 6 months, but I haven't shared it outside of these meetings. So maybe it's time to just do what I just said: create a forum post, share it, let people use it informally, give feedback, and then that might help us inform, figure out how useful it is and or how to make it better.
Yeah, for example, the recent content block in certain themes renders empty cells on the table, where there were supposed to be links for people that have permission to do whatever they want to do with that content, but certain others, they work perfectly. So we can tweak things like that, either on that one or in each individual theme, fix it if it's a theme issue.
Yeah. Well, I view we built this site with two purposes in mind. One of which is just to try out and see what different themes look like, but two also to see where they break. So
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah.
okay, back to you, John.
Road roller is now both beeping and making really loud noises, engine noises. So I don't know if you guys can hear it. It's really distracting for me. You can hear it.
I can hear it, but it's not too bad.
Yeah, it's not that bad. Yeah.
Fancy microphone and it's pointing like away from the noises, but I just don't think there's anything else. I'm so
Okay.
sorry.
No worries.
It does get worse at times, but well, I can.
Getting closer to the window and farther away. Anyway, that was the end of the theme initiative related stuff on the agenda. I think we've reached a good, suitable short-term solution with putting stuff in the forum. So I'm going to remove that from the agenda and we won't talk about it in 2 weeks. But hopefully conversation will continue in the forum. And if we need something back in the agenda, we can add it.
Yep.
Okay, I don't have any design related stuff for backdropcms.org that we need to address. And there's a handful of issues in the queue, of course, but nothing on the agenda for today. Product itself, we have a section on usability. We haven't updated this in a while. There are a lot more recent usability issues. I know Greg probably has 50 of them.
Yeah, I have a list of 4 or 5 of them that I can bring up, so that people that are interested in UX can start reviewing, because some of them are in like they actually have pull requests and maybe they need feedback. So first one is issue 3293, which is tagged as UX. It's not design, it's UX, but also design. The exposed file name filter for media library dialog, which we are also mentioning in the weekly dev meeting. Yeah. So the state of it is now, we had some feedback about the fact that there's still 2 forms rendered, but we are really close with that. What we need is people testing it and providing feedback.
Say again, which issue?
That's 3293. I don't have edit access to the agenda, so I can't edit it at the moment. That one is marked as a task, which means that it can go in any version, in any bug fix version, and not necessarily wait until the 120, which is for September. Then the other one that is more recent and Helpdo worked on it is 5095, which is about, oh, actually that one is fixed, it's committed. What do we have? Do we need a change record? Oh yeah, all right, cool. That was just a task to merge it back into the patch. Yeah, ignore this. This has actually been fixed. Yeah, all right. Then moving on, there's issue 4500, which is automatically clear caches when making changes to who can register accounts. And this is one of the issues actually that we had new people joining the issue queue, and they suggested that they would like to work, they implied that they would want to start working on it, not necessarily code-wise, but maybe reviewing it. That was 6 days ago. But yeah, for starters, it would be nice to get someone to just confirm that this is an issue for them as well, and ideas on how we could sort it, because it doesn't have a pull request or anything. Maybe a lab that needs feedback.
What was the number again?
It's 4500. And I just added that needs more feedback. So basically, in a few words, if you change the who can register user account settings and you save the form, this is not reflected straight away, and then it can lead to weird 404s or access denied errors with the login form. And I understand that this is not something that people will be changing often. Like they will most likely configure it once or twice over the course of a lifetime of a site. So I don't think that clearing caches is such a bad thing. Like those one or two things, so that things work out of the box. Then another one that I have is that one of mine? Yep, that's the one. That's 4585, and that's a request for a feature request for providing a report page that lists all paths that have been configured in different fields. I think, who was it? Was it Olaf? Anyways, it came as a request from another issue. It was sitting there for a while, so I filed a pull request. I think that the last comment from Nate was that he would like to make this extensible by other modules. And the way it's implemented now is if your module uses the storage system, like the backdrop storage system, it uses one of the file systems that are specified, it should be added there. But I don't know how a module would, like the only way that I can think of is that the storage system is being accessed is via CDNs, and these will not provide local paths, I guess. Right. And then the next big one is the 3157, which is Save Draft module in core. I think that we are currently working on, I'm trying to find the issue that was splitting. Does anyone else remember off the top of the head if the issue that was splitting the help text for the options, for the publishing options, got merged? No, I'll try to find it. So basically, in order to sort of like start with this issue 3157 from a clean state, we need to fix that other tiny task, which was pretty close to completion. I'll try and find that.
Almost got into 119, and then it was scheduled for 119.1, and then that was a security release, and so we didn't put anything else in it.
Yeah.
But it could get into 119.2.
Yeah. Do you have the ticket number for that one? I'll try and find it. Yeah, anyways, but oh yeah, I found it. So it's 3122. So this one is PR ready to be committed. So that basically this needs core committer eyes. And last comments were 2 to 3 weeks ago.
Okay. I think it might need work.
Yeah, we need to change that because that's what I see from the last comments.
Yeah, I think the just status just didn't. Well, he added the needs feedback. Okay, so that was from me. Okay. I will remove that and add a needs work
Okay.
table.
Oh yeah, so the problem that we had is because we moved we need to remove the field set that we've added around the form so I think that's the last need that was, yeah, all right, cool. That shouldn't take very long. Okay, and these are the ones that sort of like came up at the top of my list. I don't know if anyone else wants to chime in with anything else UX-wise. I'll quickly see if there's any issues tagged with design in the queue. There should be quite a few of them. There's one where we were discussing whether to add an icon font to core.
That's a bit of a doozy.
Yes, it is, and it's quite an old one. Then, oh yeah, I have a good one there, which design. So it's 5085, and it has a screenshot there, and it has a pull request. So basically the way that this has to do with the consolidated updates page that we introduced in the last release, 119. And basically, if you tick the checkbox where you disable or enable the manual, disable the automatic updates for core, then that bit gets split into a separate table on the same page. So what I'm proposing is to merge that into a single one and then use the UI pattern that we have for the more or less thingy to actually present the help, because that's what we were actually using that separated section for, to present people with more information and basically hide the checkbox. All these things can be done in the same, on the same table.
Yeah, I think that looks good.
Yeah, and then related to that, now that I saw the more or less thing, I'm going to try to find the, yes, so it's the very next one, 5090, which is consider replacing the more or less toggle links with details element. That's a good one as well. And it works pretty well. Yeah, so the only thing remaining here is to decide for a polyfill and add it for backwards compatibility. Which if we can't decide on the spot, not now, I mean, if we can't quickly decide which one, we can have it as a follow-up. And then I'm looking.
Which one? What are you looking for?
So that one was 5090.
This is the more or less toggle.
Yes. That was a fun one to work on, actually. It was cool. And we have reached now a point where all modern browsers support details element. So the polyfill should be really for the minority of remaining sites.
Is this one connected to the?
To the previous one that we were discussing.
Yeah.
So what I've done is, yeah, on the pull request for 5085, I haven't used that. I'm still sort of like copying, pasting the same JavaScript that we use in other places and sort of like duplicating it. The goal would be if we get the details element sooner, then I'm going to adapt the other pull request, or if we merge the 5085 one, merging the sections in the updates page, then it would be a task for 5090 to sort of like remove that custom duplicated JavaScript thing and make it a details element. Either way.
I thought we had a separate issue for add a details form API element. Did that get in 119?
No, it didn't, because so we had a debate there because that issue started as a replace field sets with details, which we said we are not going to do because it's going to cause breakages.
Yeah.
I'm not sure if it's worth it revisiting it now where there's better browser support. But yeah, that could be another, you know.
Because I don't think we can do this thing without adding the element to core, but I can't find that issue. And so I was thinking we should close one and mark the other one as duplicate. And if the previous one with like replace field sets is too crazy because people are focused on replacing field sets, we might use this one and be like add details element, replace this more or less toggle, and then now details is in core and we can revisit the field set replacement later.
Yes, but I think these are independent because the one would be a form element, whereas this one is not a form element, it's a UI element.
It's the same renderable array structure.
Okay, yeah, it would be. But would you add it like in these pages? Would you add it as a form element to these things? Like
Is it a
If the
form?
form element existed, would you add it? Would you do it like that?
So
Property.
it's not actually like there's no input involved in it. It's just a display of information. So that's the same thing like a container element. Right, which so it's the same thing like if you or a help element, like you add those to forms when you have stuff on a form, but it's just a renderable array and you can use it on not a form, unlike a like input field, which you can't use on not a form. So I think it's the same, like do the same thing in court with like a theme function that outputs stuff, and then it's just where do you put it? Is it a pound type or a pound theme? And it works the same way. So I think that what the task we do on the back end is going to be the same regardless of whether we call it a form element or a render element. I don't even know what we call those. A render array, a renderable. Whatever it is.
Yeah. All right. So what would you say would be the best way to first work on the issue that adds the form element and the theme function, and then come back to this issue and sort of like replace all the more or less things with that?
Yeah. And then if we need to split the field set off into like a later conversation, we can. But I can't find the added details element to core issue, which is funny because I'm sure I was looking at it not too long ago, but now I can't. My search skills are not.
Yeah, it could be it might be easier to find it if you limit the search by 2.x, things that we added to 2 point something as a milestone. Bless you.
Okay, yeah, that could be good.
But yeah, I have run out of other things that come to mind now.
Found it. Greg, you're so good at this.
Yeah. Which one is it?
Issue 324.
Oh, it's one of the 3-digit ones.
An oldie. Okay, I'm just gonna link it from here. So that we can find it again from either one. Okay.
Yeah, and actually Indigozella has provided a pull request for it.
Ooh.
Yeah,
Okay.
back in December. So yeah. All right, cool. So we can tackle it from all ends. Okay, that's nice.
All this because I tried to close the issue.
Which one? You tried to close that one, and then
Yes, there was only 6 years. There were 2 comments. I tried to close it, and now look at it. Robert, let that be a lesson to you. Sometimes trying to close an issue is a great contribution. That was, yeah, for 6 years, there hadn't been a comment. Last September, I tried to close it, and all of a sudden it took off.
No, we like this issue.
Yeah, I like it.
Well, I didn't understand it. That's partly why I tried to close it. Okay. Okay, are we done with that issue? Are we looking for more issues?
I was done. I was trying to cover to start speaking so that I cover the noises for Genesis. It doesn't feel comfortable, but now I've run out of issues that are sort of like my favorite. If anyone else wants to bring up anything else.
Well, I could bring up what I think is kind of a UX issue, just for feedback that I ran into recently. It's not that it's critical or anything, but I ran into it recently. It started with, and I'm just curious on feedback because this is kind of a confusing area. It's a permissions. I think, Gregory, you might have seen my issues. The first one was around the fact that I had a user that had permission to administer, to access contextual links and to access custom blocks, but they couldn't get the contextual link. And I realized that they have to have permission to edit the layout, which might make total logical sense, but it's still confusing. Because I didn't really want them to change the layout. I just wanted them to be able to use the contextual link to edit the block. And that might be a little bit complicated to fix. But so that's one issue. So again, I don't know what the solution to that is, but it just seemed weird. And that led me to realize another thing, which is that if you have permission to administer layouts, but do not have permission to edit contextual custom blocks, you can still edit custom blocks. You just don't have access to the list of custom blocks. And again, I don't know if this is a big, Jen, you're muted if you're trying to say anything. I don't know that there's a big use case for this. It might be a case that's just so fringe that it doesn't matter. But I just stumbled across it, and it's like, okay, I don't have permission to edit custom blocks or to administer custom blocks, but I can. I think that, our proposed solution would be simply to be more specific about what that permission is. So
there's a couple of things. I think, Tim, that issue you brought up about being able to edit something you're not supposed to be able to edit, that's a security issue. It's an access bypass problem, and we need to address it. I think it's definitely reasonable to say these people can move blocks around on the page, but they can't edit the text of the block.
Right.
The use case is very small. I think I agree. There are probably very little people who are limited in access to something like editing a block, but allowed to do something as dangerous as create a page. So I think the number of people who are affected by this problem are small, but I still think it's important that we use the permission since it's there. The other way around, so in Drupal 8, I'm working on a core now Drupal 9, working on a core patch for the last 2.5 years that gives people the edit block permission without needing anything else, so they can just edit the content of a block. And it's fairly straightforward to send them to a dedicated page with a form to edit the block, and then back to the page they started from via a contextual link, rather than right now when you say configure layout, you go to the layout page, but we could have an edit block link or configure block link or something that's more specific, that goes specifically to a block page. And that would be really clear then when you're assigning permissions. You want someone to edit blocks, you only give them edit blocks. They won't see that configure layout link, they'll only see the configure block link, and they'd get to a dedicated page for that. The trick there is that there are settings that are associated with the layout, and the content is associated with the block. So like they would, for example, be able to change the text of the block if it was like, but because it's stored in configuration, if this block is only placed on this page and that content is saved in the layout configuration and they don't have access to the layout, it gets a little complicated in terms of how you save things. But the user interface and the path for how to get from like the front end to an edit form back to the front end without needing access to the layout is straightforward. Just have to like figure out how to update that part of the layout configuration.
Right. But just to be clear, I thought right now the contextual link is configure block, right? That is what the link is to. And when you click configure block, it opens up the layout page with the block on top of it, which is why the problem is there. But the actual link looks correct, right? You're not asking for access to edit the layout. You're just asking for access to edit the block.
So
one thing that's also, I don't know if you were going to say this, Greg.
Go ahead.
One thing that's also really dangerous by allowing people to edit things from the front end of the site is that people don't understand how content management systems work. They think that it works like a page builder, and that this block only exists on this page. And then you go to another page and you edit the block on that page. And so by giving them access to only the block content, we are sort of giving them a tool that allows them to shoot themselves in the foot, because they're gonna be like, I just changed this on the homepage. Why did it change on this like node page? And then they change it back on the node page. And well, now it's changed on the homepage. Why is it? And it can be a really frustrating experience. So I think originally we decided it wasn't worth the trouble of figuring out how to do the forms that we don't have currently, or how to do this data saving that we don't have currently, because it's likely to be a big problem for people, especially now when they're, I don't know, I'm finding like all of my Drupal sites aren't using the content management system stuff anymore because their editors can't figure it out. They're just putting paragraphs on nodes. And so you don't have any reusable blocks anymore, which is interesting.
I had to step away from the computer for a couple of minutes, so I missed a bit of the discussion. But I'm imagining that the same thing happened. So I read the description that you added, Tim, and then right before IndigoZilla responded, which made me actually nod and say, yes, you can use nodes as blocks. I was thinking about that we had this issue that I can't remember now, which was saying allow people to edit it from the front end, which is what Jen was mentioning now. And I started typing that, but then IndigoZilla put their response, and then I said, oh, okay, yeah, that's better. The problem that we're trying to solve there is, it is an UX issue in this case, but you have two sort of like two groups of people, the ones that know how the CMS internals work and what blocks are, and that they're components on that page, reusable components, and the ones that, as Jen said, that they think that the whole page is a single thing. And this is where we're stuck on the other issue. I think that Doc Wilmot had a pull request. And then the other thing is, if you disable JavaScript, I think that editing a block from the UI actually gives you a drop-down menu, which allows you to pick the region and change the region where the block is placed. So we would have to lock that on the form. It would have to be a separate form. So, because that's layout editing, basically, it's not the block editing. So yeah, we need to figure out a way to allow them to edit only the content of the block. And then also warn them, as Jen said, I don't know, it could be a message or something that, hey, this block is being used in this, and that place. So no, by changing it here, you're changing it everywhere.
Sure.
This is a much simpler solution in Drupal 9 because they decided blocks were content and we decided to keep blocks as configuration. So for us, there's a much clear, like all of this stuff is just configuration, and if you're not allowed to configure the site, but with Drupal 8, they're like, well, it's content. So now your content editor just need access to edit it. And so you can't get to it from the content listing in Drupal 8 in spite of it being content. But with us, we have a block listing. So we sort of have the same problem, but we've just
Opposite.
Yeah, an opposite solution. I don't know. So it gets messy. I think the last time, and we've been talking about this for years, I don't remember how old this issue is, but it's a good one. I think the last time we were like, it's hard. Let's see if Contrib wants to add a block edit, because there's a block edit module, I think, for Drupal 6 or something. That, I don't know. I looked at porting. It's part of that. I was like, maybe we just do that. It's just a different interface for it.
Okay.
But yeah, I agree though that this is an interesting problem, and it's like, if we could find a good way to solve it, then.
Well, in summary, there might be technical solutions to the problem I described, but at the minimum, I think, and maybe I'll try to make suggestions, we could just provide better contextual help to make it more, the descriptions more accurate of what's actually happening.
Like the permission names.
Right, like in the case of the permission to edit custom blocks, if we can't solve that, we should at least say that the permission is really just to access the custom block page. It's not really permission to edit custom blocks, because you can edit them even without that permission. So, well,
that's a security issue that needs to get fixed.
Well, yeah, but it's only a security issue because we're telling somebody something that it isn't. If we told them what it actually was.
But you can't just say, there's a hole in the software, we're done. Like, you gotta fix the hole. It's not, I mean, it is an actual security access bypass issue. And so we have to fix that. We can't just say, oh, we didn't mean that. So we meant, that's not what we meant. We just did it wrong.
Well, I don't think that's what I'm saying, but I get your point. So.
But yeah, I do think that like if the permission to edit a block doesn't work on the front end of the site, we could change that to say something like edit blocks through block listing, right? But that doesn't, I don't know. I still think more information is useful. I created an issue in the security queue. I haven't added any steps to reproduce that yet. I'll flesh that out later. But Tim, if you could document somewhere everything you just.
I have an issue and I have the steps to reproduce in the issue. So
okay.
It's in the core issue queue, and I see how you view it as a security issue. I thought about that at the time, but it seemed like such a fringe case that I wasn't too worried about it.
Yeah.
But it's
can you drop the link somewhere and I'll.
Yep.
take a look
Well,
at it.
it's a mitigated security issue. Someone needs to be already a user, and they just have more permissions than they should.
Yep, I get it.
Was the site because there's so many interesting issues to work on and not time?
Yes.
Yeah, I know.
And I have to do all this stupid Drupal work and I don't want to. I just want to play with backed up all the time.
We're recording this. Don't do that. Stupid.
You know, I'm not sure that anybody in the world will be surprised to hear Jen say that.
Or us
So I
agree.
don't know if we need to worry about that.
Yes.
But on that note, should we end our video? And-
Sure.
Yes.
We are almost ready to start the weekly meeting. So let's see. You can go ahead and wrap this. I don't think there's anything else in here that's super important for us to talk about. Why don't we just stop the recording whenever you're ready, Tim?
Okay, bye now.
Yeah.
Oh, wait. I mean, I hit the end meeting button. That's not what I wanted to hit. And why?